It was my dad's birthday, the house buzzing with laughter, clinking glasses, and fake smiles. Everyone seemed to be celebrating him, except me. I had returned home from college, hoping maybe, just maybe, he would act like a father, not a tyrant. I was wrong. I was quietly helping arrange the decorations when he spotted me. His eyes narrowed. "What are you doing?" he snapped. "Always in the way. Can't do anything right." His words dripped with contempt, sharp enough to cut through the festive noise. Before I could even respond, his hand struck my cheek. The sting was sudden, humiliating, but I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just froze, letting the room's silence fill the space he tried to dominate. Around us, guests shifted uneasily, unsure where to look, sensing the tension. He laughed. "Look at you. Pathetic. Always a disappointment. Maybe I should have never bothered with you." I didn't flinch. I didn't argue. I took a slow, steady breath, feeling a strange calm spread through me. Inside, I realized something. People like him thrive on noise, on the chaos they create. The louder they are, the weaker they feel. And he had no idea that his punch, his humiliation, had ignited something inside me that he couldn't even imagine. I stepped back, straightened my shoulders, and let him finish. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just smiled faintly, a small, quiet acknowledgement to myself. This is not my defeat. I left the room, walking away from the laughter, the cheers, the noise. I let the party continue without me, letting the world believe I had been crushed. But inside, a fire had lit, silent, controlled, unstoppable. They thought they had won. They had no idea what I was about to do next. The days after that birthday were quiet, almost unbearably so. I didn't tell anyone what had happened. I didn't post about it, didn't complain, didn't cry on a friend's shoulder. I simply acted, because I knew that real change, real strength, doesn't announce itself. It builds in silence. Every evening I went through papers, documents, and accounts, learning, observing, and quietly piecing together the reality he had hidden behind arrogance and pride. I discovered the cracks in his perfect world, the reckless spending, the unpaid bills, the lies that everyone overlooked because of his charm. Every mistake he had made was a seed, and I was quietly preparing the soil. Meanwhile, he paraded around, laughing, boasting, the same man who thought I was nothing. He didn't notice the whispers around him, the subtle tension creeping into conversations, the faint looks of concern he ignored. The louder he roared, the smaller he became. I watched from the sidelines, calm and steady, focusing on myself. I built quietly, my mind sharper, my heart stronger, my purpose clear. There was no anger in me, no desperate need to prove him wrong. I only wanted justice, measured, precise, and undeniable. And then, small things began to happen. People he relied on faltered. Papers went missing. Calls were unanswered. Accounts questioned. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it was real. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I kept working, kept planning, kept growing, letting the truth prepare itself for the moment it would be undeniable. He was still the loud, arrogant man everyone knew. And I, silent, unseen, underestimated, was moving ahead of him, step by quiet step. The irony was cruel. He thought he had destroyed me, and yet, in the shadows of his ego, I was becoming unstoppable. The day the court session began, I walked in with a quiet certainty that felt heavier than any anger. The air smelled faintly of polished wood and tension. My dad entered moments later, dressed sharply, ego practically radiating off him. He smiled at the familiar faces in the courtroom, completely unaware of the storm that had been quietly built around him. I could see him glance at me, the same disdain he had worn that birthday, the same thought that I was nothing. He still thought I was fragile, easily intimidated, and too small to matter. The session started, and the evidence unfolded. Every mismanaged account, every reckless loan, every lie that had been hidden for years, carefully documented, meticulously presented. His confident smirk faltered as the reality began to sink in. The judge's voice was steady, precise, impartial. This was not about me being his daughter, not about revenge, but about justice. I watched him stumble through his own defenses, eyes wide, lips trembling, hands clenching the edges of his chair. His charm didn't work here. His threats fell flat. The arrogance that had shielded him in every boardroom, every dinner party, every family gathering, it was useless in this room. And then came the moment when he finally looked directly at me. I didn't speak. I didn't shout. I just let him see the calm in my eyes, the quiet that had been there all along, but had now been forged into something unshakable. "I didn't want this," he whispered almost to himself. I didn't know." I took a breath, soft and deliberate, letting the room feel my composure. I said only a few words, measured, calm, unwavering. Actions have consequences. Silence doesn't mean weakness, it means preparation. Every eye in the courtroom shifted. Some were shocked at his unraveling. Some were quietly proud of me, though none dared say it aloud. My dad, the man who had humiliated me just weeks ago, sat there, stripped of authority, facing a truth he could no longer control. I didn't gloat. I didn't mock. I simply watched as the system I had respected and navigated carefully revealed him for who he truly was. I had no need to raise my voice. The truth was louder than any insult I could have thrown. And as I left that courtroom, calm and steady, I felt a strange mixture of sorrow and satisfaction. Sorrow, because the person who should have protected and loved me had instead hurt me. Satisfaction, because I had grown beyond the hurt, beyond the humiliation, beyond the anger. I had become stronger, wiser, and completely untouchable. Not through shouting, but through quiet action. The world outside felt different, lighter somehow. People's whispers followed me down the steps, but they were no longer mocking. They were full of respect, awe, disbelief. My dad? He stayed behind, silent, facing the consequences he had ignored for so long. And in that silence, I understood the final truth. People mistake quiet for weakness. They never see the storms being built beneath it. I didn't come back to hurt him. I didn't come back for revenge. I came back as someone he could never underestimate again. I walked out of the courtroom, calm as ever. My dad, the man who had humiliated me, sat there stunned, stripped of the control he once wielded so easily. I didn't shout. I didn't gloat. I only let the truth speak for itself. Every eye followed me, some in shock, some in quiet respect. I realized then, silence is not weakness, it is preparation. People mistake calm for incompetence. I had grown stronger, wiser, untouchable, not through anger, but through quiet, deliberate action.